Hey guys, Chris from Flipping Cars. Welcome to another YouTube video. Make sure you watch this video until the end. There's a really important announcement that you do not want to miss. Keep watching. Hey guys, Chris here from Flipping Cars. Each week we pick up loads of cars from auction, whether that's for our car auction buying customers, our retail customers, our export customers, and we always manage the collection and delivery ourselves. In the past, we've allowed people to go along to the auction and pick them up, but there's many reasons why we don't do that anymore. It causes more headaches than you can imagine. And this is a great example as well. So we picked up this car for a customer who's buying it to resell on. And I sent one of my drivers down to collect the vehicle, and it was going direct from the auction to the customer. Now, the car broke down, and it broke down on the motorway where there was no hard shoulder. So fortunately, the driver has AA cover so he can get back. Yeah, and I appreciate lots of you guys will have AA or RAC or green flag or whatever else to get yourself back. So that's not the issue. But what the problem is, the customer does not want a car that has issues being delivered direct to them, not where we can help it, because we need to be able to manage the claim process with the auction centre. And if that car is at the customer's house, is at the port, or is somewhere else, how the hell can we support that customer? We can't, can we? So it makes sense we can divert the driver back to us with the vehicle. What it also meant was that the driver didn't get back till about midnight that night, and he'd set off early that day as well. So it's frustrating for our driver, but imagine that as a customer, what's the experience like? And we also say to people, especially where we're delivering direct to them, be patient with us, because if that happens with your car, you're going to mess up someone else's delivery. And what we're trying to do is say to people, like, it's not intentional that your delivery may slip a day or two. It's down to the circumstances at the auctions. And this week alone, we had a screw in a tyre, a nail in a tyre, and also a bolt in a tyre. Believe it or not, 3 cars, all with something stuck in the bloody tyres. We had a flat battery, we had a car with a electrical fault, and then we have this one here as well. So let's take a look, and it's been misdiagnosed, repaired and put into auction, and the repair was actually a dead simple one, but they misdiagnosed the fault, which we didn't know about until I actually looked under the bonnet myself. And again, one of the bonuses of bringing the car direct to me is I'm a qualified mechanic and I can spot these things for you. So let's take a quick look underneath the bonnet. So interestingly, with this car, it had an electrical problem. It broke down on the side of the motorway. All the power went away from the car after it had been driving for a short time. The guy done about 10-20 mile, I think it was, and it had been jumped. And when we looked at the vehicle, when it got back to the unit, I looked at the vehicle, and the first thing I spotted was the alternator. It's a brand new alternator on the vehicle. So it raises concerns that there was an electrical fault in the first place prior to it going into auction, and all major mechanical faults should be declared at auction, otherwise we've got comeback. So we've spotted a brand spanking new alternator. So what's the headache? Now we know, and I don't want to teach people to suck eggs, but the alternator charges the battery when the engine is running and provides power to the electrical items within the vehicle. So without it, the battery's going to go dead on us, and we're going to have a job, and we're going to have to jump start the car every single day because it's just not charging. Interestingly, I've swapped this over now. I looked at this battery, and this was the battery that was in the vehicle, and it looked pretty rough in the first place. These terminals were quite well worn and had been clamped on and looked pretty rough, and the battery didn't look fantastic. So I think what they've done is they've actually assumed that the alternator wasn't charging the battery. Now, they might have taken a test across these terminals here and found that it wasn't being charged by the alternator, so it would lead you to think it's the alternator that's the problem. But you've got to start with basics. The battery is knackered. The battery isn't taking the charge from the alternator. The alternator wasn't the problem. It was actually the battery. The battery was knackered. The battery was so poor, it wouldn't take the charge. So we swapped that over. We stuck a new battery on, and lo and behold, job done. Nice and easy. About 70 quid for a new battery for one of these. The alternator, what the hell does that cost? What, 250 quid, 300 quid? I don't know, I'd have to go onto Euro Car Parts and check, but it's going to be more than the price of a battery. And misdiagnosing the fault with the car has probably led someone to shoving this into auction, and the buyer getting a decent deal. So I've come inside because it's absolutely freezing outside, and who wants to get coronavirus? Not me. So this is the battery testing kit, and this will also tell me whether the alternator is actually charging the battery, because it's no good me just changing the battery and it starting, because it's a brand new battery. It's likely to charge, isn't it? But as that battery gets used and used and used, if the alternator is at fault and I haven't checked it is working, then the battery's going to die, and I'm just going to have to rinse and repeat the whole process of forever changing the battery and then diagnosing the fault. And as you can see, I've come in on a different car as well. I left that car outside. I'm trying to make the videos as reasonably quickly as possible. I don't want to spend all day doing it, but it is cold outside, so I've come inside, and all we do is connect this to the battery terminals. I'm not going to start the car because it's going to be too noisy. We'll then start the car, we'll sit inside and follow the process on the battery tester. And what it'll tell me is the state health of the battery, which we know is good because it's a brand new battery, but it doesn't help checking it because you never know, you might get a dud one. I changed a fuse in the office the other day and the lights never worked. And it was actually a bad fuse. So it's one of those replacing a bad fuse with a bad fuse. It could be a bad battery with a bad battery. So we want to check it works okay. And then we want to make sure the alternator is putting power and recharging our battery. And this will give us a health check of the alternator and the battery. So then we can be confident we've fixed the issue, because if we're not confident we've fixed the issue, we're going to send the car out, the customer will use the car for a week or two, and it'll come back like a boomerang with headaches galore. And that is the last thing we want in this game, is seeing cars go away and come back time and time again. So we're always going to check ourselves and make sure what we've done as a fix is a fix and not just a patch. Makes sense, doesn't it? Makes sense. So that's why we say to people, let us pick your cars up from the auction centre, because if there's an issue, it can come back to the unit. Now we have got all the equipment to sort the job out, to diagnose the fault. Instead of you taking more time off work and getting it recovered down to a garage, getting retail price repairs, we've got the diagnostic equipment, we've got trade accounts with local suppliers, so we can get these parts cheap, because it doesn't go to plan every single time. Look, it's only now and again we get issues, but we're buying 100+ cars every single month, so we're going to get problems across some of the cars. Not all of them, but some of them, aren't we? So it's really important that the cars are always picked up by one of our qualified drivers with trade plates who know what they're looking for as well. So another one I had was a Mercedes, and I went to the auction myself to pick this one up. When I got there again, the battery was flat, and it shouldn't have been because it was a 68 plate, so a little bit frustrating, but got it jumped and drove it back. Now, it's probably a good hour and a half drive back to the unit, so the battery should have been fully recharged, but it panned out when we turned it off, it wouldn't restart, and it came down to it being some sort of auxiliary battery unit on the vehicle that needed replacing. And because it was a 68 plate, I got it into the local Mercedes dealership, got it repaired free of charge, and then dropped it to the customer a couple of days later. Now, it's frustrating for the customer because their delivery is delayed, and the knock-on effect from their car giving us a delay means somebody else's car is delayed as well. So this is a lot of the work I do, is rejigging deliveries when issues happen, but we sort them out, so there's never a drama if we can sort these issues out for people. Whilst there, it had a dent, and it was in a nightmare of a position right down on the lower swage line, so it was a difficult one to get the tools into to fix, but we did that as well. So these little things can be done when we collect the cars, bring them back and deal with any issues that may arise. And they don't arise all the time, but they do happen when you're buying the volume we are buying. So that leads me on to a really important question for you to answer in the comment section below. Where is the worst place you've broken down? What was the most reliable car you have ever owned? How long did it last for? And was it an awesome motor? What was it? What is the worst car you've ever owned? What is the most unreliable car you have ever owned? And what went wrong with it? Tell me in the comment section below. And if you enjoy these videos, why not give it a thumbs up? If you don't subscribe already, shocking! Subscribe, it's totally free of charge. Please, I appreciate your support, and leave a comment in the section below. Thanks, and catch you on the next video. And just before you go, one last thing for you. I've just had a quick thought. There's a really important video I'm going to release on Sunday evening. Make sure you are subscribed because you will miss that. And if you want to save money when buying a used car, you do not want to miss this video. I'm going to tell you something that you will want to know. So make sure you're subscribed, and I'll release that around about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock Sunday evening. Have a good week.